Hello everyone, Ace here, and today, well, I'm just gonna have to go ahead and say it. The act of making female Space Marines an official part of Warhammer 40k canon would actually be, by woke standards, bad for diversity within Warhammer 40k, which may on the surface sound silly and even contradictory, but nevertheless I can and absolutely will be demonstrating why this point is valid, at the very least by the standards of the Wokehammer community, which is itself quite ironic since it is of course the Wokehammer community that have been for years now pushing for the inclusion of female Space Marines. Now, and as I've already mentioned, this debate has of course been raging for years now, and could be best described for a while now as a sort of stalemate, as the fans of Warhammer 40k will typically argue against the inclusion of female Space Marines due to the existing lore openly stating that they are not possible, and so the very act of adding female Space Marines would mean changing the lore of 40k itself in order to make the game more appealing to people who didn't play Warhammer 40k before. These are of course valid and reasonable arguments, as changing IPs to try to appeal to more people that weren't interested before can have some dire consequences. Take a look at Star Wars, for example. Unfortunately though, these arguments tend to fall on deaf ears when discussing the matter with members of the Wokehammer community, because at the end of the day these individuals don't actually seem to care about the lore itself. And so it is of my opinion that a new approach is needed in this debate. Specifically, it is my opinion that the best way to counter the Wokehammer side of the argument is to use their own reasoning and logic against them. And on that subject, let's actually get back to Space Marines, and what exactly constitutes a Space Marine within Warhammer 40k. And perhaps the simplest description would be that a Space Marine is the result of a successful combination between a compatible male human being with gene seed, which by the way not only thoroughly changes the physical shape of that male human being, but also modifies their DNA to such an extreme degree that they are no longer reproductively compatible with normal human beings anymore. In other words, not only are Space Marines all sexually male, but they are also their own species separate from humans now. And this is the point where I actually get to use social justice logic to defeat social justice here, because according to the definitions laid out by SJWs, Space Marines could actually be universally classified as trans non-binary individuals, because they have all been transitioned to a new species altogether that universally possesses only one type of genitalia, and one cannot be anything but non-binary when there is only one sex in the entire species. Now, to any ordinary viewer or fan of Warhammer 40k, this wouldn't exactly matter all that much, but unfortunately to an SJW it is quite the big deal, as that means by woke standards that Space Marines are critical for trans representation within Warhammer 40k, and trans representation is actually valued more by SJWs than female representation. So when the act of adding female Space Marines would actually remove the status of Space Marines as being universally trans non-binary, it would genuinely be, by woke standards, bad for diversity within Warhammer 40k. And not only that, one could even take it a step further and argue that by woke standards, the very act of adding female Space Marines into the canon of Warhammer 40k could itself be construed as a form of transphobic oppression on the part of the Wokehammer community that has advocated for years now the inclusion of female Space Marines. Now, some people would argue that this makes absolutely no logical sense, and you would be correct. Unfortunately, though, social justice as an ideology also makes no logical sense, and therefore my reasoning is perfectly consistent with the standards set by the SJWs. So if there's any SJWs out there that are fuming at this particular video, just know that these are the rules that you've set, and you are essentially reaping what you have sown. And to the true fans of Warhammer 40k, I do at least hope you have found my particular video to be humorous. In any case, this has been Ace. Hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Ace out.